When you prepare to put down your temporary floor graphic, there are a few things you'll need. Obviously, you'll need your floor graphic. You will need a squeegee with a felt edge on it that will be sent with your graphic. You'll need some blue painter's tape. You'll need a microfiber mop, a bucket of warm water, a mop handle, a rag, and a tape measure. So we're going to talk to you today about putting the graphic close to the center court. And this floor has a Home of the Tigers logo on their floor and the center court line. They have a big S in the middle and then your sideline. We're going to show you and talk about centering that in that space. First thing you want to do is center it between whatever's in the center of the floor, which is their big S, and the sideline. You want to make sure it's centered in there. So the first thing you do is you take a measurement of that area. And it comes out to about 124 inches. So then we're going to cut that in half of 124. You have to be a little math, but not much. So half of 124 is 62. And what I like to do is, that's where your painter's tapes come in, just put a real small piece of tape at 162. I know that's going to be the middle of my graphic. Then you measure the width of your graphic, which is 46, and half of that is 23. So I know if I go 23 inches up from the center that I taped, I'll put a little mark, and that'll be the top of our graphic. As you know, on a gym floor, the boards create these natural lines, nice straight lines. It's really good to use that to line up your graphic. It'll help you keep it nice and straight. So when we do all our measurements, this graphic is going to fall kind of halfway between this board. I recommend you move it up or down, which won't be noticeable from the crowd because it's only, an inch or so, but it really helps you if you move it and you can follow that line as a guide to keep your graphic nice and straight. Now that we have the top edge and we have it basically centered in this spot, now we're going to center it left to right. And so again, we're going between, on this floor, and your floor obviously will be a little bit different, but we're going between the T in their graphic and the center line. We're measuring about 143. I like to keep things simple because we're dealing with big areas. You don't notice quarter of an inch or so. So we're going to call this 144, and then we can center things from there. So we're going to mark 172 on the top edge of where our graphic is going to be so we can have the graphic centered left to right. So I take my painter's tape, go along the line that we chose is going to be our top edge, measuring from the line that we are coming from. We're going to put this piece of tape down at 72, giving us the center right to left. Now that we have the marks on the floor where your center and where your top edge is, we need to mark the center of the graphic itself. So we will measure our graphic. It is about 69 inches. So half of 69 is 35 and a half. 34 and a half. So we are going to take a piece of tape and put it on our graphic itself at 34 and a half inches. So now that we have the center marked on our graphic and marks on the floor of where this graphic is going to go, we can prepare to lay the graphic. We slide the graphic up line it up with our line that we're going to use. And these two marks are where the center of the graphic is and the center of the spot on the floor we want. A quick note that you want to make sure and do is remember which side you're working from on the tape. I'm working everything. When I had my 72, I put this, so I knew this was my edge that's correct. It's not this one. And so you just got to make sure you kind of think that through and remember that when you're putting your graphics down. So now that we have it, we want to make sure we're following this line all the way through. We have our center where it needs to be. And you take your painter's tape and you secure your graphic down temporarily. And then we will move on. What I like to do is double check, just to make sure nothing crazy happened in your math or your measurements. So I just take a real quick, we're about 39 3/4 there. We are about 38 1/4 there. We are 37 1/2. And we are 37 5/8. So again, you also want to kind of step back and look at it. We're off by some fractions of an inch. If you want to get real technical, you can move it back and forth and get it exact. Or again, for most people's applications, close enough is close enough. But if you really want to get technical about it, you can move the graphic and get it to be exactly dead on center. But again, I recommend, it's really nice to keep the graphic on one of these lines, because a graphic that's crooked is worse than a graphic that isn't absolutely perfectly centered. So we're going to leave ours where it is right here, and I'll show you the process of applying it to the floor. So once you have the graphic kind of down where you want it, you can take off the tape that we had on there. That's no longer needed. You take it off the center of the floor. That's no longer needed. You don't want to get it underneath your graphic. We're going to tape this down. Basically, you're going to install the graphic one half, right half, left half, and the other half. And this is when your scissors and your squeegee comes into play. First, you're going to secure almost like a leverage point so that we can do half the graphic at a time. What we're doing is we're securing the graphic down so it doesn't move when we go to install it. About that much overhang. Over a little further. Yeah. So you put down, you overlap it by about half the tape, then you put this one down the center. And this keeps your graphic from moving as you install it. So we're going to install this half first. So you take off the tape. On the back of the graphic, the adhesive is covered by film. You want to make sure and peel that film off. And here's where you use your knife or your scissors. I recommend you use the scissors because the knife can scratch the floor if you're not careful with it. So it's a real good idea. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to get close to the edge of your graphic. And you cut that film off, exposing the adhesive. Your partner is going to get up and they're going to hold this graphic and they want to get it close to the floor with an angle. Come over here, Andrew. They want to hold it tight, but don't pull it to where it's going to move or anything. And then you're going to take your squeegee and you're going to work from the center out. You're going to just squeegee that graphic on, working your way, small pieces, maybe, a foot or so at a time. Work from the center out. And apply the graphic. If you get a bubble, you just need to work it. It will come out. Usually you can hear it kind of moving. And once you get that part done, you just go a little further. And you keep working until the graphic is completely installed. And now we will apply the other half of the graphic. So this is the point where once it's back, it's not a bad idea to just kind of wipe this area one last time, just so there's no, you may have walked over it when you're putting the graphic down, and you just want to make sure there's no little pebbles or anything like that. So now you should be able to find where that backing was cut, and you can start it and take the rest of that off. Your partner will grab it. And hold it at an angle, and you just repeat the same process on the other side. The nice thing about it being temporary is, let's say if for some reason there's a little wrinkle or something on here, he can lift up on that, and you can peel that back to wherever the problem is, and then you can reapply it. If there's a real bad bubble you can't get out, you can always pull it back, work the bubble out, and continue to work it. Now your graphic is ready for the big game. It's down. Players can play on it. They won't slip. They won't fall. Actually, we've talked to players after events, and they don't even realize it's there. It does not affect the game in any way, but it makes for a great opportunity to dress your floor up, to use as a sponsor for the big event. And it's very simple and very easy if you follow those processes. Once your event is over, whether it was senior night or military appreciation night, or like for this instance, you've got a logo down for an event that they sponsored, it's time to take the graphic up. And so all you do, it's very important not to remove it too quickly. It will release nicely, but you just don't want to do it too quickly. You start in one corner, start to loosen it up, and then you want to pull it at an angle, and just slowly, it will release. You just slowly remove the graphic. You don't want to pull it too quickly. And you just work it down until the graphic is removed. And as you can see, there's absolutely no residue on the floor. The finish is intact. There's been no peeling of any type. And so when they come into the gym tomorrow to have practice, they'll never even know it was there. Or the next game, you could do something different. Or, a year from now, you put it down, but no one ever knows it was there. It doesn't affect the floor at all. It doesn't change the slip of your finish. So you're able to have a really nice event, dress it up a little bit. It's a great option for those kinds of things.